what's really going on. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Today, going to be taking a look at Stellar, Lumen, XLM against USDT. Going to be taking a look at some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be looking at some of these pivotal areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with in the very near future here. Seem to be having a very strong bounce off of some very key buying areas that we haven't seen since the kind of not so distant past. And so, will we have enough bullish momentum to maintain the uptrend and find support, or will we continue our way downward and enter the dreaded previous price levels? Are you bullish? Are you bearish? What are you doing with your XLM? Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you let the price action unfold? Are you a sniper, scalper that trades the market at every exact dollar down to the cent and enters and exit at very strategic key levels? Or do you just press the button, buy, and then hold through all this nonsense and then take a big profit at the key take profit levels? Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on XLM moving forward. Jumping right into it. To recap, this kind of ridiculous price action that's just been kind of up and then sideways, up and then sideways. We have ridiculous pumps upward, followed by tens of days of accumulation downward, sometimes over a month of accumulation sideways after a kind of break upward, and we've had this kind of series of breaks upward and then sideways all the way up until kind of from the middle of November of 2020 all the way up until the middle of February of 2021. We've had that kind of pattern unfolding until we've reached this kind of what appears to be a crazy range of sideways so far between, in my opinion, with swing lows of like 27 cents. Technically, we've stayed in this range between 27 cents and then highs of 79 cents for now over 140 days, so like 143 days of this ridiculous range of accumulation as we look to find support at some of these key levels. I do see local support around 38 cents. That was a key kind of zone that we traded towards for a period of weeks, kind of back during a key kind of accumulation phase after rejection off of a key resistance level. We had accumulation just above 38 cents for a period of like 37 days before rallying upwards, setting some higher highs, returning to that key kind of accumulation zone briefly, rallying upward again, printing some more higher highs, and then we've now returned to that dreaded accumulation zone for a for another revisit here for the third kind of time. And so I suspect perhaps as this while this sell-off is being bought up very aggressively, and there's these key bounce levels off of some very kind of low buy zones that we haven't seen since kind of the middle of January of this year. And so we do have like plenty of kind of bullish momentum so far, although the sell-off is still quite aggressive and it's going to take some time to play out. In my opinion, I don't think a vertical recovery is pending. I suspect perhaps a prolonged kind of phase of sideways as we fight our way back through this kind of pending resistance. I mean, we could very well see some aggressive bounces. This is crypto, and volatility is present, and so we could see we could very well anything's possible, and so we could very well see that vertical recovery. But I suspect that's not likely at this moment. I suspect perhaps it's going to take a few weeks to perhaps a couple months to find our way back through these kind of key resistance levels that I've seen kind of around 48 cents, and then there's like another area above 55 cents and under 60 cents, and so we're currently trading at 43 cents. I believe another retest of 38 cents is pending before we can kind of find our way kind of back upward. And so lots going on in this pivotal sideways. I'm still bullish long term in my opinion, although this does seem to be another kind of the beginning of a phase of accumulation sideways, perhaps, in my opinion. When we consider the Fibonacci lines along with EngineeringRobo's buy and sell suggestions, in addition to the fear and greed index, we can see a new perspective come into play here. We have the FOMO zone all the way up there, gliding along kind of like 75 cents, and so we've had several rejections off of the FOMO zone. This is kind of the this is a pullback that has kind of followed the third rejection that we've had from this zone, and so upon seeing these pullbacks, we've seen tens of days kind of sideways, it would appear, and so we don't seem to be bullish enough to maintain price action within the FOMO zone, because coins have to be kind of overwhelmingly kind of bullish beyond kind of like technical perspectives, and so price action in the FOMO zone is very volatile. There is very abundant sell pressure, and so this is usually when traders are taking profit. Long-term investors will be taking profit at these levels, and that's typically what we see is these rejections, although price action could rally into the FOMO zone. And then, tops get bought and the rally kind of continues, and we see some really aggressive price action up and down when we're above this kind of red ascending line there, the FOMO zone. That's where FOMO is present. We have the fear zone all the way down here, the kind of green line here. We have the our last interaction with kind of the fear zone was kind of all through September of 2020, and the last kind of zone was the beginning of November. Say you bought and held through all this kind of crazy up and then sideways. Say you bought at the beginning of November of 2020 and you sold at our first interaction with the FOMO zone. You made 584% in just over 100 days. And so this is more of a sort of like midterm to long-term kind of strat for traders, for investors rather, than traders who prefer to buy and sell at your kind of key take profit levels. And so interactions with the FOMO zone is typically one of the other two things that play out. And so, like I said, we can either have crazy tops bought and we can rally upward, or we can have the big rejection kind of off the FOMO zone and we trade back into the trading range between the fear and FOMO zone. And this is when trading would occur. And so now we do have the hell, sell 4, super sell, sell 3. We have all these sell signals printing back before the rally looked so bullish, and so we had the super buy, buy 4. Everything was like higher highs, finding support. We were interacting with the FOMO zone. We were looking like we were going to be up in there for a second. We could have seen the dollar to perhaps like $1.50 stellar, but things had to change. Momentum can change at any moment in crypto and anything, and so we had a break downward, fell through a lot of key kind of support areas. We're back at another zone that we haven't seen since back in kind of the beginning of April of this year, so just like a month ago. So I suspect price action to correlate nicely with these kind of support lines, along with these Fibonacci zucchini lines that look like to be the 0.618 at 50 cents, just above my 48-cent support line. We have the 0.5 line correlating with 41 cents, just above my kind of 38-cent kind of like support line there. And so I suspect, a very short-term bullish support line would be that 0.541 cents, and so I suspect a retest of 38 cents to be pending. A very bearish target would be that 0.382 at 32 cents if we fail to hold 38. And I do see some above that 0.618 line is the 0.786 line way up at 63 cents, which is going to be, I believe, significant resistance moving forward once we find our way kind of back up there. Lots going on when we consider Stellar against the price of Bitcoin. We can see this just as similar aggressive break downward off of key resistance found around 1562 Satoshi. We're falling all the way back through this zone of slapping, punching, kicking, and shoving that we've interacted with kind of several times. We broke it back at the kind of middle of May here to interact with that 1562 resistance kind of very quickly, but we were then shot all the way back down through that zone. And now we appear to be coming back up to retest it as resistance again. So I suspect perhaps a period of what appears to be sideways and accumulation against the price of Bitcoin during its kind of current volatility, kind of between more of a local range that we can see with these Fibonacci lines, but I suspect perhaps an aggressive wide range of 751 Satoshi and 1206 Satoshi could be that zone that we trade in for a period of time before we find our way above kind of 1285 again to interact with 1562. So when we consider the Fibonacci zucchini lines along with EngineeringRobo, we have these kind of sell suggestions printing. We have these sell 2, sell 4, and hell coming back into play against the price of Bitcoin, suggesting some perhaps prolonged kind of phase of accumulation and sideways as this recovery is going to take some time, and the volatility of Bitcoin is even more ridiculous at the moment as the fear, uncertainty, and doubt present in the market is a lot for new traders and new investors to perhaps grasp, as Bitcoin is kind of one of a kind, and so it's a new market for many and will be for a period of time, quite some time I think. And so we were looking very bullish upon this break above the 200 daily moving average by 2, by 4, and moon. We rallied all the way up from breaking that kind of moving average at 749 Satoshi. We rallied all the way up to kind of swing highs of 1615 Satoshi in kind of, let's say, just over a month, 41 days there. And so this definitely calls for a sell-off, kind of some take profit levels were definitely present. And so I think the uptrend is still bullish long-term if we're up above this 200 daily moving average against the price of Bitcoin, even though we have these sell suggestions present. As long as we're above that 200 daily, I believe the uptrend is still present in the long term. I suspect price action to correlate nicely with the 0.382 line at 840 Satoshi, the 0.5 line at 989 Satoshi, and the 0.618 line at 1135 Satoshi. I suspect that to be our kind of local resistance moving forward, and that at least to be our kind of key zone that we could trade, kind of ridiculously between before finding our way back up to that 0.786 line at 1348 Satoshi, which is just above that dreaded zone of slapping, shoving, kicking, and spinning that nobody wants to be in. So price action will have to build up momentum to kind of break its way through that to interact with that 1565 resistance that brought us back down to where we are right now. One may consider Bitcoin. We can see some ridiculousness that is this sell-off, although we have a strong bounce with the 0.5 line there, 34K, 34.3. That's going to be that significant kind of local support. I believe we have a very, very strong bounce off of kind of a bearish support line around 32K, but prices seem to be closing above 34, which is ultimately short-term bullish. In my opinion, we have local resistance around the 0.618 line, and so that's going to be, I believe that's going to be our kind of key range of 34,000 and 41,000 is going to be our kind of key zone of kind of sidewaysness before we kind of like, determine support and see if the if we can kind of hold through this kind of ridiculous pullback, this like tens of thousands of dollars, 50% correction over the course of like just over a month, kind of thing, hypothetically. And so we are falling below this dreaded 200 daily moving average, and this could be a very pivotal kind of state as we're going to see some rejections off of it, in my opinion. Although I do think we are bullish enough to kind of find support and kind of maintain the uptrend, we could very well have some prolonged weeks of or months of sideways. Price action could look very similar to this kind of period of time between the beginning of February and just kind of the middle of May there, kind of just before kind of where we are. And so we could very well see some multi-$1,000 moves upward and downward over the course of weeks, kind of thing, before we kind of find our way back upward to interact with these higher highs. So I suspect, like I said, that kind of 0.5, 34K to 41K to be a kind of key zone that price action could find its way between as we determine if we can get back up or not. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish on Bitcoin, on Stellar? Are you holding? Are you trading? What are you doing with your bag if you have one? Are you accumulating in these lows? Are you selling at all these lows? Are you panic selling? Are you panic buying? What is your kind of strat moving forward? Subscribe here on YouTube. Check out all the other social media down below. Try EngineeringRobo free with a link in the description. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in for the next one.